everyone. I'm Yvonne, a children's librarian here at the Manchester City Library, and I want to welcome you all to our fall STEAM-powered stories. These story times are aimed at grades 3 to 5 and have a science, technology, engineering, art, or math component. Our story portions and our kits are actually going to be given out exclusively in person at the library. So please visit our website and register for those if you are nearby and are able to join us. But I also thought that we could continue posting some of our crafts and activities here so that we can share them with as many people as possible. So that being said, I'd really like to get into this week's STEAM-powered story. Hello everyone, thank you for joining us again for our STEAM-powered stories. This week we are going to be exploring electricity with a fun activity and craft. Let's gather what we need for today's activity. All right, so for today's activity, we are going to be making a homopolar motor. So what you need to gather is a battery. A AA is probably going to be a little better. I have a AAA, but it will still work. It just might not have quite as much strength as you would obviously with a AA. You are also going to need at least one neodymium magnet. Those are also known as rare earth magnets. So they're pretty strong. So do be careful when you are using them, because if you have more than one, they can like catch your skin and kind of squish it in between the two magnets. So be careful. Remember, it's always okay to ask for help if you're not sure if you can do something yourself. Also, if you have a stack, the correct way to take one off is to just sort of slide it off to get it off rather than trying to like pull, because like I said, they are very strong, and if you do kind of pull up, it is possible that you'll get your finger stuck in between, and that's not fun. So get your battery, get your magnet, and the last thing we need for this is going to be some copper wire. So what I have here is an 18 gauge wire. And gauge is actually pretty interesting. When they make a wire, they will take some metal and they will pull it through a hole, right? And so if you pull it through the hole one time, that is 1 gauge. And then they will take that wire and get a smaller hole and pull it through again, and that would be 2 gauge, etc. So the more numbers in a gauge, actually the thinner it is. So I'm using 18 gauge, and I find that works pretty well, but you can probably use some gauges around that size and it will be fine. So what we're going to do is grab a pair of scissors and measure out about a 7-ish inch length of wire. I'm going to cut it. It's probably easier to do with wire cutters, but I can do this with scissors. And the length of the wire may vary if you have like a different sized battery. But if you have a AA or a AAA battery, about 7 inches of wire should work. And now let's actually get to making our motor. So what we're going to do is with your wire, you're going to put either a loop or a bend in about the middle of the wire. And if you do have pliers or wire cutters with convenient noses, that can be really helpful when you are shaping your wires. So if your fingers start to hurt at all, then either get an older kid, or a pair of pliers to help you out. So what we're going to do then is we're going to take our battery and we're going to kind of use our battery to see how to shape our wire. And then we're going to fold the legs of our wire so that they kind of are going to go around where our battery is going to sit. So what we're going to do then is we're going to set our battery on top of our magnets. They'll kind of click together. You do not want to leave your battery attached to your magnets for too long because they can get hot, and it's also going to slowly drain the battery. So what I do is I kind of put this on my wire and kind of see how I need to adjust it, because we want the legs of our wire to kind of go right around the magnets and like kind of barely touch them as it sits. So if our wire is going to sit right on top of our battery as it sits on its magnets, then we want the legs of the wires to like just barely touch the magnet, and that is actually going to be what allows our homopolar motor to spin. So let's make those adjustments. It might take a little while, and then I can show you what happens when we get it right. All right, so here is my battery stacked on my magnets. Here is my wire that is bent, hopefully in the right shape. What we're going to do is we're going to put the little dip here, or the loop if you put it into a loop. We're going to balance it on the positive end of the battery. That's that little bump right up there. And like I said, it is a little bit tricky, but once we get it, we see that it does start spinning. Until, of course, it unbalances itself. But it's pretty cool in the meantime. And you can see that, like, that's not me spinning it. It does start from a standstill and go by itself, which, again, pretty cool. And so it's called a homopolar motor because it spins only in one direction, right? And if we flip the magnets around, we can reverse that direction. So what is happening with our homopolar motor? So what we have here is a combination of electric current going through the battery and magnetic fields emanating from the magnets. And so what happens is the electrical current is going through the battery, and then of course it goes through the wire that we connect, which then loops it through the magnet. So we've got the electrical current going this way, and then we have the magnetic force, which is going at right angles, so like perpendicular to the electrical current. And this combination of electric and magnetic force is actually called a Lorentz force, and we're definitely getting to the extent of my knowledge in this area, but it's cool that we have a name for that, and that is what causes the wire to spin. Now, the homopolar wire or motor itself is not really used for anything like in the real world because it takes way too much power and it only goes in one direction, which is fun and cool for us, but not very useful in powering things. Again, I want to remind you guys, do not leave your magnet attached to your battery because it will get hot, and as I said, it uses a lot of power, so it's going to drain your battery pretty fast. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this project. I think it's really fun and still a pretty simple way of exploring both electricity and magnetism. So I hope you had fun, and I will see you at the craft. Hello everyone, and welcome to the craft portion of Steam Powered Stories Exploring Electricity. This week, if you were not in person with us here at the library, we may still have some kits that will be left in the glass enclosure right at the children's side entrance of the Manchester City Library. So if you are interested, pop by to see if there are any leftovers of that. If you do have your kit, what there will be inside is, of course, the instructions. There will also be a piece of paper. You're going to get a couple of strips of copper tape. You're going to have an LED light, and you're going to have a small watch battery. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys just a really simple way of creating a circuit with these items. You might also want to grab a pair of scissors. But there's a lot of really fun ways that you can use these to make really awesome cards or other kind of more complicated circuitry. That is up to you. I encourage you to use your imagination, but I'm just going to show you a really simple way of just getting everything lined up so this will work. All right, so I'm going to start with a piece of our copper tape. And basically what this is a very thin sheet of copper that has adhesive on the back, which makes it basically be a tape. So it is conductive on both sides, which means it will pass electricity through as part of our circuit. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to cut this piece into two pieces. One is going to be a little bit shorter. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the backing. And this is from the longer piece of tape. Okay, and like I said, this is just basically like copper foil, so it is going to bend as it comes off, and you want to make sure that it doesn't like get back into itself. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this near the edge of one of my paper edges. And then I'm going to take the second piece and I'm going to put that about half an inch apart and a little bit from the edge of my first piece. Like that. All right, so now we've got our LED. And if you look at the LED, you'll notice that there are two legs and one of them is a little bit longer. These legs are technically called leads, and the longer one is the positive lead. So you always want to connect the positive lead to the positive side of the battery. That's just going to have the current flow correctly. So what we're going to do is we're going to bend the leads so it's kind of sitting down. So we're going to place the longer lead to the longer copper strip, and that will be the positive side. So to grabbing some tape at this point is going to be helpful, because what we're going to do is we're just going to tape the leg to the copper tape. Okay, so this is the longer side with the longer leg. Then we're going to grab our battery, and if you look on the sides of the battery, one is probably going to be blank, the other one should have some writing. And I think that the side with the writing always has the positive, at least in my experience, but double check, because double checking is how we avoid accidents. And so this one here has a little plus sign, meaning that it is positive. So we're going to have that positive side facing up so that the blank negative side is going to go ahead and touch the shorter part of our copper tape. And what I like to do is put a little piece of tape to sort of help secure that battery, especially since I'm going to be lifting this up to show you guys. But you need to be careful that the tape doesn't cover the entire top of the battery because we are going to need some of that showing so we can complete the circuit. And so the way that we're going to complete this circuit is we're going to fold up the corner with the longer copper tape, and we're going to fold that so it folds over and can touch the battery. All right, guys, we had a quick switch around because I realized that the battery that I was trying to use is actually a 1.5 volt battery, and the LEDs that we have got are actually a 2 to 2.2 volt LED. So we had a moment where I thought that everything was kind of falling apart a little bit, but after going through, I did figure that out. So we switched out the batteries to, I believe this is, yes, this is a 3 volt battery, which means that it will have enough power because 3 volts is more than 2 or 2.2, which is how much the light needs. So since we switched out that battery, again, I made sure that the positive side is facing up so that it will touch the longer strip, which is connected to the positive lead. And here we go, we will test out our circuit. And there we go. We have got a glowing light when we complete the circuit so that the electricity can flow in one loop. Like I said, there's a lot of different ways you can set this up. Like what happens if you decide you want to have your light be on this side and maybe have it be part of a drawing. You could then have it stuck through the paper so that when you complete the circuit, it lights up on the other side, or you could just make the circuit more interesting and complex, like a picture in of itself. Any way you choose to do it, I hope that you guys enjoy this project and have learned a little bit about electricity. All right, everyone. Well, that is the end of our steam-powered stories for this week. Remember that if you would like to come and do all of these fun activities and crafts, as well as hear the stories in person, then we will have our next steam-powered story in 2 weeks, which will be the 23rd of November. So it would be great to see you there. If you do want to come, remember to sign up on the Manchester City Library website so we know you're coming and can get everything prepared for you. I hope to see you again next week, if not in person, then at least here where we can still do some really fun experiments and some learning together. All right, guys, till then, bye.